Okay, so here's the thing that no one wants you to know. Excellent service can save a bad meal, but an excellent meal can be ruined by bad service. We think it's time that the front of the house got the spotlight they deserve. Welcome to Dine and Dish, where the business of dining meets the art of hospitality. Hey, Michelle.
Hi, Krista.
Welcome back to Dine and Dish, everyone.
Hello.
How are you
Episode
doing?
5.
I know. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Busy. Life in the day of a restaurateur. Busy.
Yeah. Yeah, do you ever have a non-busy day?
No.
Right.
No. And if you ask anybody at our office and you get Steve on this call, he'll basically tell you I torture him 24/7.
Yeah.
Hence,
Poor guy.
the conversation we have. He loves when we're filming and we're taping our podcast because he has 40 minutes of peace.
Right. Yeah. Poor guy. I know. That's the thing. Even when you have a day off, you don't have a day off.
No.
There's no such thing as a day off when you work in restaurants.
And there's no such thing as a day off or vacation when you own your own business because you work 24/7 anyway.
That's correct. I remember when I was younger, my parents owned a business, not a restaurant, and they owned a card and gift shop, and it was 24/7. Even if they weren't there, we were on vacation, family vacation, because we were young. We were real young, and they would get calls, and that was before cell phones and all that. And so it was, it was not fun. So it's hard to decompress when you're that busy. But yeah.
Yeah, well,
busy's better than not.
Every time we go out of the country or we go on vacation, Steve prays for peace because he's like, every time you leave, something happens.
Yeah. Poor Steve. We're going to have to get him like a novella candle or something. We're going to have to like sage everything, get all the candles and everything out and like clear the space in the hopes that poor Steve can have like a second without you screaming at him.
Well, I don't scream at him. We're just like,
no, of course.
And then when I'm not calling him, Janar's calling him Stevie-O.
Oh my God. Poor
Steve.
We're going to get him into therapy. Yes.
I have to tell you, I think so far, episode 4 was one of my favorites.
And why is that?
We listened to it again, and Janar and I were hysterically laughing. We both listened with a glass of wine, and we both were laughing. And some of the comments you made, Janar like chuckled out loud, and he doesn't laugh. And he said, I'm really enjoying your show. And I said, thank you.
That's a nice, supportive husband. I like it.
I was shocked. I said, because we sat down to listen to it, and we try to listen to all of them together because I want him to hear what we talk about on the agenda and the topics. And this one was funny because some of the things you said and talk about some of the people, and he said, oh my God, did she just say that? I'm like, that's Krista.
Correct. Krista has a problem because she doesn't have a filter. So we're either going to be a success or they're going to shut us down real quick. It's one of the two. We're going to see how this goes. All right, let's jump into today's topic, which is one of my favorites. So today we're going to talk about what happens when you have a bad experience at a restaurant. And when I'm going to give you an example, when I say bad experience, like you ordered a steak medium rare and it came out well done, right? So there's two sides to this coin. There's how you should handle it as the guest, and then there's how the restaurant should handle it, because there's two different sides to that coin, and both of them, there's a specific way that they should be handled and shouldn't be handled. And if it's not handled properly on the guest side, that will let you know, little insider baseball here, how that gets notated into RESY, Open Table, 7 rooms, etc., and how that can hurt you going forward. So let's dive into this. I think one of the most important things that everybody should realize about restaurants are live theater. They absolutely are. Stuff happens. It's going to go wrong. The night that you come in, unfortunately, it just might be your night that you get your ticket punched. But it is live theater. We, of course, do everything in our power to make sure your guest experience is perfection as much as it can be. But stuff is going to go wrong, and you either flow with it or you don't. So this is what happens if you don't flow with it.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And, it's not even just things coming out wrong. It's long ticket times. It's kitchen mistakes. It's service miscommunication. I mean, it's what happens if, for example, here's a crazy story. In the middle of service on a Saturday night, full restaurant, the suppression hood system went off and the fire alarms went off and the fire department's walking through my restaurant.
Oh, that's a joy.
Oh, that's so much fun. And then,
you know what my favorite is? My favorite is when the health department does a surprise inspection and the kitchen comes to a screaming halt, and now your entrees are going to take a good hour before they even get on the line. That's my favorite. Damn.
Actually, speaking of that, that happened to us in New York City. We were at STK.
Yep.
Oh no, we were at, I'm sorry, Catch Steak. And we walked in to sit at the bar. And we went to order, and the bartender said, mm-mm. And I said, what do you mean, mm-mm? And he said, oh, you don't want to order right now. And I said, why? He said, because the health department just paid us a surprise visit. I mean, it's 9:00 on a Saturday night. They're packed, line out the door.
That's when they do it.
And he said, well, I'm just letting you know the kitchen's probably going to run 2 hours. And I said, 2 hours? He said, yep. So have a few drinks. And I thought, oh, that was a great way to handle that. Talking about how... Yeah.
Kudos to that bartender, because that's exactly what should happen. When there's a surprise inspection from the health department, which we all dread and hate, not because we don't have our shit together, but because it screws up service. And they always come in, as you said, like 8:00 on a Saturday night when we're jammed to the rafters.
They should not be allowed to do that.
That's a whole other podcast. Yeah, I think it's a scam. Do I think it's great that people know that you're safe and you're eating in a safe environment? 100%. Nobody's arguing with that. But their methods need to have boundaries, and they don't, and they come in at the worst time constantly. And so, and that bartender handled it perfectly. And that's what you do. I remember one time, Saturday night, 7:30, health department came in. I went to every single one of the tables in the restaurant. And I was like, hey, just so you know, the health department came in. Your food is now going to be delayed. I don't know how long, and there's nothing we can do about it. We have to come to a complete stop. And as long as you communicate, not one person in that restaurant was pissy about it. They're like, okay. And actually, if they were drinking wine, I went and grabbed the wine and I topped everybody off. They had a cocktail. Maybe, like, you have to make them happy, but like, because they handled it and they just went with it, they're like, yeah, nothing you guys can do. It's the health department. You got to follow the rules. We're just going to sit here and drink. And so we did everything we could to make that wait comfortable. But that is one of those things that you can't control.
I can't tell you how many glasses of champagne that I used to give out in the little lobby area where the hostess station was, because there's sometimes where you're backed up or you have to wait for tables, or people are your guests are sitting longer than normal. Yep. And your guests check in for an 8:30 reservation, and at 8:45 you're like, oh shit, they're still standing there. And I work the door, Krista, and they're just standing there with like the glare of like death, like you're not
it's the worst.
It's 15 minutes. And I used to be the hostess with the mostest. I would go get champagne on silver trays and beautiful glasses, and I'd be like, all right, ladies, it's time to start drinking, and we're going to have a great time in the lobby until your table's ready. And I was giving out champagne. By the time they sat, they were like, oh my God, you're amazing. This restaurant's amazing. And, that's what this show's about today, is talking about how to handle it.
How to handle it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Michelle and I are now talking about sort of extreme circumstances, but let's talk about like a regular everyday occurrence that would happen. Like I said, when you go and say you ordered a steak medium rare, which is how I order my steak, I like it bloody. And then when it comes out, it's well done. So here's how you should handle it. Absolutely. First of all, please do not ever be afraid to send back food. I used to love Wendy Williams. And I watched Wendy Williams' show once, and she talked about how she went out to a restaurant and something came out wrong, and she was always afraid to send it back because she thought people would spit on her food. I love Wendy, and we're all about the free Wendy movement, but that statement pissed me off. I'm not going to lie.
But the problem is they make movies, and there's one movie in particular that made it look so bad, and they torture the food. So, I mean, the problem is you have these movies and these TV shows that make people think, oh my God, I'm never sending the food back.
Correct. And that's why we're here. We're here to tell the truth. And the truth is, never be afraid to send back your food. In the 20 years that I have been doing this, not once did that ever happen that I saw the food not being handled with the utmost care and respect. So you're hearing it from us now. Please send the food back, but do it nicely and with respect. You can call your server over and say, hey, I'm sorry, I ordered medium rare. This is well done. Immediately, the server should launch into action. Absolutely, you're 100% correct. Please let me take care of this. Launch it back into the kitchen. Protocol is you grab a manager, you go to the line, you talk to the chef. Now, because everybody's now eating at the table, and this is a steak, which is an item that takes long to cook because and you don't just cook it, you have to rest it before it can go out. And that adds to the time. So now we're in a danger zone, right? So we can get you another medium rare steak. Normally, and I've worked at a couple steakhouses, normally what we do is we just steal somebody else's medium rare that's on the broiler, and then we delay that.
Right.
We zhuzh some things in the back, but we don't want you to have to wait. So we try and steal that. If we can't, because of whatever's on the broiler, then the manager should immediately go over. Apologies, you're correct. This is what we can do for you, and walk you through what we can do. We can absolutely cook you another steak. I want to be honest with you. This is how long it's going to take. Are you okay with that? Would you like something else? Obviously, I'm taking that off the bill. In the meantime, can I bring you, have a conversation with the guest. If the guest rolls with it, I know it's annoying because you're at a four top and 3 people are eating and you're not. It's annoying for the 3 people eating too. If you handle it well and you roll with it, I guarantee you, not only will you be well taken care of, but there will be notes under your reservation name for the next time you come back, and you will be taken care of again. Even if it's a night you're dying for a reservation, you can't get in, they're going to read those guest notes and they're going to go, oh, the last time they were here, they had a bad experience. Let's rearrange the book. Let's get them in.
Absolutely.
Like, there are ways that we can help you if you handle it well. What do you think?
So one of the things that we do in our restaurants, we actually have recovery plates. So if for some reason something goes back, let's say it's the steak, and hopefully what we do in our restaurants most of the time, I mean, if it's done the right way, they're actually undercooked than overcooked, because you can always refire it, where if it's overcooked, you're done. You have to start all over again.
Right.
But with a refire, and what a refire means for those listening, it's a word for the restaurant that the steak was too undercooked for the guest liking, and they go back to the server. And of course, the server has to take it back to the kitchen, refire it, put it back on the grill, the broiler, and then bring it back out. So in the meantime, we have a manager that goes over to the table, thoroughly apologizes, and has a recovery plate. And each night it might be something different. It might be, a charcuterie, or it might be, whatever the chef puts together that night. So this way, the manager's bringing something to the table. So the other 3 guests that are eating, or 2 guests, that person's not sitting there with nothing in front of them. So it might just be a small little appetizer. It might be a little, crudité. It could be a charcuterie, just something. So it's just a gesture while they're waiting. Now, of course, if it is a total remake of the steak, like you said, that takes much longer than a quick refire. And that's where you have to go into some type of recovery. And the manager then goes through the steps that we'll talk about shortly of what a restaurant should do in making that experience turn around.
Salvage it. Yeah. Exactly. And I think that's important, because if you're up, and we're not saying you don't have the right to be annoyed or upset that this happened. We're not saying that or suggesting it. It's just in how you handle it and the delivery of it. And honestly, the same can be said of the restaurant. There have been times where guests will, same scenario, hey, I ordered medium rare, this came out well. And the server, the manager, whoever is just like, oh yeah, well, and they don't really care. They're just like, well, what do you want to do? Order another steak? That's wrong on that restaurant. That's horrible hospitality, horrible customer service. And quite frankly, not a place I would go back to and spend my money there.
Yeah.
If we're going to be frank.
The other very important thing, we always have a manager on the floor that is there to watch the table. So not every guest will say, oh my God, this is horrible, or this is undercooked, or this is overcooked, but they need to be able to spot the body language, the guest cues. And like you said, servers don't really care sometimes, because they're in the weeds, they're busy, and they're like, oh my God, please don't send it back.
Well,
it happens. I mean, I've dealt with it at our restaurant. So, having a front of the house manager or somebody on the floor that's able to spot those issues, you can tell. And when I work the floor, I walk around and I look. If they're pushing it away or they're not eating it, I send a manager over right away to say, is there something wrong with your dish? Do you not like it? Was it not prepared correctly? Because the more that you can ask and identify, if there's an issue, the easier to fix the issue before they leave, and they either never come back or they slam you on a review, or
Right.
why they're in front of you and they're able to be fixed in the restaurant. I always tell my managers, do what you can, make them leave a forever customer, a loyal guest, because once they leave, they're not coming back if it's really done the wrong way.
Correct. So and this is for those of you listening who maybe go to a restaurant and you've had a bad experience, or in the future, like I said, it's live theater. It's bound to happen. It happens to me. It happened to Michelle. Like, it happens. Nobody's immune to it, but allow the restaurant the opportunity to make it right. That's the biggest takeaway, if anything, from this episode. Allow the restaurant the opportunity to make it right. Do not be entitled. Do not be, demanding, but communicate. Let them make it better. Nobody wants you to walk out of that restaurant having had a bad experience, because we know what it means on the back end, right? And we'll talk about that in another episode. But give them the opportunity to fix it because they want to fix it. But I am going to circle back on one thing you just said about the servers. I'm always going to protect my servers because that's those are my people. Yes, there are some servers who we've all experienced who don't really care. I've certainly had that experience,
or they hide,
being a guest, right? So to me, that goes back to management training. You should always care. I don't care how weighted you are. I have worked in restaurants where I am quadruple sat the entire night, and it's VIPs and it's celebrities, and no one gives a shit. They want to make sure their experience is just as good as Kim Kardashian or whoever else I have to wait on. And they're right. They're 100% right. And if you have a server who does not care about that, then that boils down to management. And if management did train them and that's still their attitude, then they don't deserve to work there. That's my 2 cents on that.
We just need 30, 40 Kristas in every restaurant.
I mean,
Can we clone you?
No, thank you. No. The world could not handle that. That would be problematic in so many ways. Okay, so now let's talk about the flip side.
Wait, go back for a second. So one of the things you mentioned about servers, so, I agree with you 100%. We spend so much time training them. And one of the hardest pieces when something happens, you do get servers that hide. And, it's either the guest being really, really mean to the server, or...
Well, that's the flip side. That's what we're going to talk about. Yes.
But as a manager and as a restaurant, it's so important to tell that server to get a manager, because the worst thing you can do when you hide is it upsets the guest even more. So that's why you have managers. That's why the servers have people there to help them that can step in and ask the questions, apologize, get in front of them, because at the end of the day, it does affect the server's ability and their ability to make a living, because if they're having a horrible experience, it's going to affect their tip as well. So It's in everybody's best interest. Everybody, the restaurant, the server, the chef.
Everybody, yes. Everybody. And I'm going to say this from my front of the house peeps. Yes, it's important to get a manager, assuming there's a manager on the floor and they're not hiding in the office pretending to do work because they don't want to be on the floor. And we all know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yes, we do.
Right. So, and we get it, guys. Like, we understand that there are problems in the restaurant, and that's what, we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the flip side of things now. When something goes wrong, we're going to stay with the same scenario, right? We're going to stay with the steak. You ordered it medium rare, it came out well done. Here's what not to do. What not to do is to speak in a condescending tone to your server, your busser, your runner. That's not going to get you anywhere. I worked at a steakhouse once, and this happened to a gentleman. His food didn't come out right. I took it back, got the manager to go over. We tried to repair it. It still didn't come out to his liking. And he started to get really irate with me, and he had to bite his tongue, and he stopped. And as I was walking away, I heard him say to his other finance bros, "That's why I only like male waiters, because I can really tell them what I think, and I can't with a woman." And I was like, "You prick." Yeah, welcome to misogyny land. Yeah, he was an asshole.
That's when you trip and you say, "Oops, I spilled wine down your back." No, I'm kidding.
Right. No, well, that's when I, as a server, went to my manager and said, "I'm not going back to that table. This is how he spoke to me, and I won't wait on them." And any manager worth their salt will be like, "Absolutely. From the rest of the day, that table is mine." And the manager should take over because they can go F off. So let's say that a situation like that happens and they're nasty to you. They're condescending. They're barking orders at you. They're demanding that the entire four top get comped. When you start demanding things, that's when you lose your battle. We're just going to let you know now. We understand it's annoying. We understand that everybody's eating and you're not. But when you start that entitled, demanding Karen, Chad behavior, it's never going to work out in your favor, because this is what's going to happen. The manager's going to go over. We're going to send the manager over. And from that moment on, we're going to handle you with very kid gloves. We're going to make sure that you have as lovely of an experience as humanly possible. We're also going to do everything we can to get you out the door as fast as possible without you knowing it. And then the second you leave, the manager is going to Open Table under your reservation name or RESY or whatever you use.
And they are flagging the shit out of you.
They are flagging the shit out of you. And here's a little inside baseball tip for you. In your reservation, in every restaurant I have worked at, there's a box or an area at the bottom of your reservation that says manager's notes. And in there, we put codes. And the reason that we put codes is because if you come in and you're very close to where the host or the maitre d' are standing, you might be able to eye the computer. So you're going to see what the notes are. So that's why we talk in code. I worked in a restaurant once where if you were a complete and utter dick, your code was peach. You're a peach. And that meant we knew that you were going to be a problem. This is why this is important. So now when you call back to come back on a Saturday night, which is like the most popular night, right? 7:30, that's what everybody wants to do. And we pull up your reservations and we say peach, we're maybe not going to be as accommodating as we would be with other guests who have great notes. You guys can deny that happens all the time. I'm seeing it firsthand. I've done it for 20 years. I can tell you all the codes at a lot of the best restaurants in the city. Yep. It happens every day.
And the notes travel from restaurant to restaurant, not just that only restaurant. So there's ways to put notes into Open Table and RESY where when you go to a different restaurant, those notes travel. And that can screw you at other restaurants if you're going and you want to get into another restaurant where you haven't been there yet and haven't had a bad experience. They already know that you're an ass.
Now, how does that happen? Let's say I'm at La Bernadette and I put in a bad guest note, but now I'm going to go eat at 11 Madison Park. How does he get the notes?
Because if there's an actual place in the code, you can actually go in as a manager and you can put a note in. Because I actually had somebody come in at my restaurant and I pulled the chit out, it prints the chit and it has this note in there. And I went up to my staff and I kind of yelled at them and I said, we don't put notes like this in the system. And they were like, what are you talking about? We didn't put that in there. It was already in the note from another restaurant about the experience they had, like almost like a warning, like, this is a really tough guest, blah, blah, blah. But it actually can travel restaurant to restaurant. There is a way to add a note into the system where you can see it at another restaurant, depending on the platform they use.
So maybe I have never seen that. So I'm not going to say it doesn't exist. I'm just saying I have never seen that. So I'm fascinated by that and I'm going to do some research.
Yeah, you can definitely do it with RESY because I've done it and I've seen it. So I know for a fact it can be done. It's a permanent note and a guest can add a note too that travels from restaurant to restaurant. So it definitely can be done. Yeah.
So there you go. If you're listening and you're going to be a dick at the restaurant, you're going to flag yourself for other restaurants. And so, there is this thought in the world by some people, yes, by the Karens, yes, by the Chads, but also by others, that the people who work in restaurants are somehow less than, like we are uneducated or whatever. And so they feel that it's easy to talk down to us. Again, it's the difference between treating us like a servant and treating us like a server. Those are two very specific things. And I think you all know what I'm talking about. And so when you get enraged because your food came out cooked incorrectly and now everybody's eating and you're not, again, we're going to do whatever we can to fix it. But if you talk to us in a manner that is demeaning and dismissive and condescending, we're still going to do what we can to fix it. We're not going to go above and beyond, and we are going to flag you. Just be aware.
Yeah. So what we do, again, being the restaurateur, I'm on the other side. Absolutely what you said about servers and bartenders being these are professionals. They
Yes.
choose. You know, I used to tell, especially for bartenders, I mean, they are professional bartenders. I mean, some of our bartenders were in this business for 30, for 40 years. They are professionals. They make a lot of money. And for
Yes.
somebody to come in and talk down to anybody, whether it's a server, whether it's a bartender, these people are not uneducated. They're not doing it while they're going through college or to do it to make quick cash. I
Some
mean,
are, and
some
that's
do.
okay.
I
But
mean,
the
some
professionals,
do.
yeah,
I'm not going to lie. But,
of
you know, when
course.
you're going into a lot of these restaurants, they're choosing this profession, just like you choose to be a doctor, you choose to be a lawyer. So I don't know where people feel entitled to talk down to anybody, because everybody should treat everybody fairly and with respect. And you get more bees with honey than you do vinegar. So in
You do.
any business you go to, and you're nice to somebody and you're understanding and you learn how to communicate correctly and problem solve, they're happy to help you. You know, most of the time you don't get an ass that says no, unless it's a really bad situation. You
Right.
know, what I've taught, and I brought this from years ago from my retail world before, you know, I got into the restaurant business and married into it with my husband. And I'm talking 20 years ago. I used to teach leap. And I don't know if you know leap and what it is, but leap is used a lot in retail settings. And
Hmm.
I teach that to all my managers and my servers, that you got to listen. You have to listen to the guests. The guests will explain and tell you, whether it's through eye contact or body language, that there is a genuine concern and they need help. They need assistance. As soon as you know and you hear, then you empathize. I totally understand.
Yep.
I can feel how you're frustrated. You use a warm, sincere language. You understand. And I'm not talking, it doesn't have to be 20 minutes.
No, it's
It's just
empathy.
understanding. And then of course you apologize. Absolutely. I apologize for the situation. You know, I'll immediately fix it. I'm going to take action. I'm going to remake the dish. I'm going to get my manager. We'll remove it from the bill, whatever it is. And then P, you provide and you problem solve. So if it's a really horrible situation, you take it off the bill. You give a gift card. You send over desserts. You know, whatever you do to go above and beyond, and by
Yeah.
empowering your people, whether it's your managers, your servers, they touch the guest. So, you know, I can't, as a restaurateur, I can't go in and fix every situation. And there's going to be a situation every night. There is, in some way, shape, or form. It's
Well,
the
no, that's
restaurant
why you
business.
had hired your team. You can't do
Exactly.
everything.
Exactly. So if you empower people, like you said, the guest and the staff should be able to fix it and make it a great dining experience.
Well, I think you hit on something really important there, which is forget about restaurants for a second. In life, when something goes, cattywampus, I think people really just want to sincerely be heard, not
Mhm.
listened to, but heard. Those are two different things. And if you can, with empathy, show them that you have heard them and take the
Mhm.
steps to try and rectify the situation, even though they might leave still a little pissy, they have to acknowledge that, listen, they did try to fix the situation. They absolutely
Yeah.
did. And so I think that that's a big part of it. I do want to circle back on one thing that you said, though, about servers
Mhm.
and the professionals. That is true. Everybody that works in a restaurant is a professional, regardless of what their other interests are. And I say that
Correct.
specifically because in New York City, there are a lot of actors, artists, musicians, writers, you name it, that work in restaurants. That doesn't mean that they don't take that job seriously and they're not professionals. They still do their job to the best of their abilities. When they clock in, they're a server or they're a bartender. And they do take that seriously and they are still professionals. I cannot tell you how many Ivy League people I have waited tables with in New York City. So that whole notion of people aren't educated or the thing that they do to actors are like, oh, well, you're an actor, so you're not really a server, so you're not going to be good at this. So I'm like, no,
Exactly.
we're professionals. This is our job at the moment. When I'm doing that job, then that's the job I'm focused on and a professional at. And so I just think that, and we'll talk about this in other episodes, especially
Mhm.
when it comes to tipping, which is an issue too. Tipping comes from slavery, and I think because it does, and
Yeah.
that's where it all began.
Yeah.
And that's why I think a lot of people in the industry are looked down upon. We will get
Mhm.
to that, but I think even actors and people who it's not their full-time job, everybody's a professional, and I just want to make sure that we are
Yeah.
clear about that.
Yeah. Agreed.
I don't want my
100%.
actors to feel. that they were somehow dissed, because we love them. We love everybody who can work at a damn restaurant, because it is not easy.
It's not easy. It's
It
not,
it
and
is
I'm not even
exhausting.
talking just the front of the house. It's also the back of the house. I mean, when you're
Yep.
pumping out, hundreds, you have 3 private dining rooms, you have 180 guests seated at one
Yep.
time, plus the bar. And then you have these big tables that come in with 30, 40 people. And, you have 2 lines going. I mean, at Tuscan Prime, we had the back line and the front line. And, the catering and the private rooms are coming out of the back, and they're using walkies to, have the expo to make sure that the plates are going out perfect. And of course, the chef is touching every plate to make sure it's perfect and it's garnished the right way before it goes out. I mean, when you're pumping that much food out, I mean, even the back of the house is working just as hard. And, that's one
back
thing.
Of the house is they're the unsung heroes. 100%.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
Unbelievable. I mean, it's just what goes on. And a lot of people that, these guests that come in, they don't understand that. They see the dish come out, and I mean, some people know, but for those that have never worked in the restaurant business, yes, it's glorified and it looks amazing in the front, but if you saw what goes into it, I mean, there's so many players, and it's, the amount of respect. And, that's why when you brought up this topic, I'm like, yes, bring it on, because I can't tell you how many times I have to go out and talk to these guests, and they're like, I want to talk to the owner. I know she's right there. And I'm like, absolutely. I'm happy to go to the table, because I will turn that around and make them not feel bad, but I don't want them treating my staff and talking down to my servers. I mean, I used to have a server that would get so upset she would be in the kitchen crying. And then I
Not in the walk-in? Would she be in the walk-in crying?
Oh my
remember,
God. And then I
kids,
would
what did we
become a
teach you?
counselor.
Everybody
At
cries
9
in the
o'clock,
walk-in.
Krista, 9 o'clock, she would have 6 tables, and she'd have a table that hurt her feelings, and she would be crying, and I'd be like, go take care of your 6 tables. We can talk about it later. But they don't realize how it also interferes with the entire flow of the rest of the restaurant. It
throws
really
everything off. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's brutal. The restaurant industry is brutal in a lot of ways, but we all love eating out. And so Michelle and I are just trying to give you a little insider baseball of what really goes on and the best way to handle certain things, with full respect to the people that we work with. But so I think that those are the big takeaways. Be nice. Something is going to go wrong. Just know it is, at some point in your dining experience, something is going to go wrong. Allow the restaurant the opportunity to fix it, because we don't want you leaving mad and then going onto social media and doing reviews, which we're going to do another episode on, right, Michelle?
Yes.
And then, because this all ties together with that.
Started.
Oh, please. I think that's actually our next episode, I think, is reviews.
Yes. I think it should be our next episode after this.
Yeah, because it ties into this. Yes.
Yeah.
So don't be a Chad. Don't be a Karen. Allow us to fix it for you. Treat everyone
the kitchen
with
is
respect.
Not going to do anything to your food. They will not.
Yes, please. I love Wendy Williams again. Free Wendy. Yeah. Do not ever think the kitchen spits on your food or does anything to it. It's a lie. It does not happen.
And
again,
there's
20 years in the business, I've never seen it.
I don't care most chefs, and I would say 99%, take such pride in their work and their dishes.
Yeah, they get upset.
No way they would allow something to go out not the right way.
100%. And again, with the steak scenario, if that goes back into the kitchen, the first thing the chef does, he looks at it, goes, yep, it's well done. He'll pull up the chit from the spindle, look and be like, yep, it was ordered medium rare. And then that's on them and they know it. And that stresses them out because they sent something out that wasn't right and they take pride in what they do. And so nobody's doing anything to screw with you. Just be nice. That's it. That's really the takeaway. Just be nice. All right, Michelle, I'm calling it. Thank you, everybody, for listening to us go on and on.
Because we can go on and on and on.
Lord, I need a gin and tonic. Okay. Thank you for listening. Again, if you guys have any questions that you want us to dive into on these episodes, or if you have any comments about the podcasts that have been airing so far, please go to our Instagram. DMs are open. Go to our website. We want to hear from you and we can discuss your questions on the show. So thank you for listening. Thanks, Michelle. Have a good one.
Talk to you next week, Krista.
I'll talk to you later. Cheers, everybody.
Bye.
your car insurance rate going up, even with a clean driving record? You're not alone. That's why there's Jerry, your proactive insurance assistant. Jerry compares rates side by side from over 50 top insurers and helps you switch with ease. Jerry even tracks market rates and alerts you when it's best to shop. No spam calls, no hidden fees. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Switch with confidence. Download the Jerry app or visit jerry.ai/Libsyn today. That's JERRY.ai/LIBSYN.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.